Hey everybody, welcome to another Punk Perspectives. And today I got a special one. I have basically the general of the LCB Army, Bones, today. Thank you, man, for being here.
Yeah, not a problem, man. It's good to be here. Thanks for
Yeah,
asking me to be on your show.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, today the song I want to really talk about is going to be "Orphans Don't Run."
Hmm.
Uh, Big song for me growing up. It was one of the first songs, that kind of way it kind of taught me was just like whether you think you're going to lose a fight or not lose a fight, you sometimes got to fight for what you believe in. So I kind of want to pick your brain and kind of where that song came from and things like that. And so I
Sure.
guess that's the first iota, I guess, with the song. Do you know what came first, lyrics or music? What was the first memories you have of making that?
Let's see. We Song was written in 1995. It was originally on our first demo tape, but the song was twice as long as what you hear on Rather Be Hated. It went from three verses to a solo to repeating the three verses again. The song was like twice as long on the demo tape. And I think that's on a 12-inch that Punkcore put out. But the lyrics and music, I don't know which one came first. To tell you the truth, I'm uh I'm pretty positive that Marty wrote the music to that.
Okay.
Um, the I think they came probably around the same time. To tell you the truth, I don't think there was much difference. I don't think I had lyrics to it and then went, "Hey, Marty, write to this." I don't think that was the case. I think Marty had a song and I just wrote lyrics around it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll get that. And then let me kind of and then so I guess on the lyrics, like where did where did that kind of like I guess where did that inspiration kind of come from? Do you know? Like was it like true? Like what did you experience? Like I happened to because you guys are from Austin, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess let me ask that wasn't for my idea, was Austin pretty like rough back in the day, especially for punkers, or like how was what was it like back then?
No, not really.
No?
Um, it was well, Austin back in the 90s was, and kind of still, well, Austin's kind of a tech city now.
Mhm.
Um, but back in the 90s, it was, I mean, it still is kind of, it's a college town. So there's there's a lot of frat houses around. And you know, we used to get in fights with frats and things like that. It wasn't nothing, really that big of a deal. It was most of the time it was our doing that, these things came up, that something rough came up. It was chances are we instigated it for the most part. Um, so no, Austin really wasn't that rough of a city back then at all. The lyrics are kind of about something else. So um,
Okay.
so just jumping into it.
Yeah.
Um, we all know the movie, not the Wanderers, sorry, the Warriors, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So the movie The Warriors, there's a gang in the Warriors, and they're called the Orphans. And so the gang in the movie is really just a bunch of wimps, right? And they can't fight, they can't do anything, they get run off, right? Throughout the movie, the Warriors have to fight these individual gangs. They don't have to fight the orphans because the orphans run away. They just kind of scare them off, right?
Okay.
And so, you know, us being kind of a movie guys, Clockwork
Yeah.
Orange, Warriors. There's references to different movies in our lyrics. Um, a lot of different movies. But so the way this is really pretty stupid. Um, so the way this came about, there was in the mid '90s there was a lot of bands. Okay, I lived in this house with a guy named Sean McGowan. He was a singer for a band called the Chumps.
Okay.
Um, and a little precursor to that, the Chumps were originally called Lower Class Brats. They wanted to be called Lower Class Brats. And when they decided not to use the name, and when we started, I asked the bass player if we could use that name. I'm like, do you mind if we use
Yeah.
Lower Class Brats? And he's like, no, not a problem at all. You know, this guy Frankie, and which the name comes from, is generated from liner notes in the Germicide cassette by the Germs, and it calls the Germs and their fans. It's like the band and a fan club of 7 surfers and a bunch of lower class brats. That's where the name comes from the band the Germs.
The
So
Germs. Okay.
yeah, it's a Germs reference. So me and Frankie are both really into the Germs, and I asked him if I could use it. He said no problem. So the Chumps, I lived with the guy Sean McGowan. He was the singer for the Chumps. Me, the singer for Lower Class Brats, and a guy named John, who was the singer for a band called the Motards. And the Motards were more of a garage punk band, you know. And
Okay.
they put out some stuff on Rip Off Records, Empty Records. They were they were kind of getting known for their time. And look them up; they're amazing, great band. And so are the Chumps, by the way. Um, you can find their stuff online, both those bands. Um, so John had saying that there's a lot of frat houses in Austin, and we were
Mhm.
living in a place called Hyde Park, and hence the song "Right
Right.
Hyde
Right.
Park."
Yeah.
So we were living in Hyde Park, and there was around us, like this is a college area, so this is all the students were around. It's really young, right? Lots of like hippies and frats and things like that, you know. And and we used to go to frat parties and see how much beer we could drink before getting kicked out, right? So we'd go to West Campus and uh, where all the frat houses are, and we just walk in and start drinking the beers. And we always went in numbers, you know, because in case something happened, fights and things like that.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, that we kind of instigate a lot of this because we just show up at their houses and start drinking their beers. And run up to the keg, see how much we could guzzle down before we got kicked out. Sometimes you get kicked out right away, right when you
Yeah.
walk in. Other times you could be there for 45 minutes just slamming as much alcohol as you could. Um, so John, the singer for the Motards, he had went and decided to do this by himself, and went down to a frat house, and they caught him, and they're like, hey, get the fuck out of here, right?
Yeah.
And he kind of stood up to him like, what are you going to do? He's a little guy. He's like me. He's like not a big dude at all. And he was wasted. And he's just like, well, what are you going to do? They, uh, they immediately start taking him and throwing him out.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can't fucking touch me, man. I'm in a gang. You better not touch me. And they go, what gang you in? He's like, I'm in the Orphans, man. Orphans Don't Run. We got a rep. And they're lines from the movie, right?
And I'm parlaying right now.
We were just at that big meeting up in the Bronx. We're going home to Coney. The train gets messed up by the fire and dumps us here.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. How could this be a big meeting if the orphans wasn't there?
Listen, you didn't miss anything. There was a lot of hassle, a lot of heads got busted.
Yeah, you think the orphans ain't with it? You think the orphans ain't well known?
We didn't say that.
Well, we got a heavy rep. You mess with us and you'll find that out. You see that? They write about our raids in the paper.
Yeah. Hey, that's really heavy. The orphans, right? Yeah, our youth worker, she talks about you guys all the time.
We ain't got one.
Well, that must be because you guys are so bad they're afraid of you.
And we just thought it was the funniest thing. We're like, oh my God, he came back to the house and he's like, yeah, man, I told him this and this. And we're just like cracking up laughing. It's like, this dude, you're ridiculous. And he's like, yeah, it was like in the Warriors, you know? And I'm like, yeah, 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 we get it. Um, so we we started making up this fictitious gang in Austin.
Yeah.
And it was all the bands that hung out together. So um all the bands, we all play different styles of punk, you know,
Right.
and it wasn't like, you know, there was no oi scene in Austin. It didn't exist. The four of us were it, right? And but there's garage scene and there was a 77 punk and you know all the stuff, but all the bands, we all hung out together, we all partied together, we were all friends.
Okay.
And you know, we hence, you know, I lived with two of the guys in, you know, 77 type punk band and a garage band. They were my roommates and some of the greatest times of my life. Um, and so we're like, yeah, let's call ourselves the Orphans. And so we started making, and I looked for it and I couldn't find it. I have one somewhere, but we made these little 1 inch buttons, and they were it was just a circle with uh a an old English O, the letter O in it,
Okay.
right? And we made a bunch of these buttons and we passed them out to all the bands, and everyone wore them on their jacket, on the lapel of their leather jacket or whatever. And so it was all the bands and friends and girlfriends and all this, like, you know, there's probably like 40 of us, you know. So it's bands like, you know, the Motards, the Chumps, the Reclusives, the Dead End Cruisers. um uh God, I know there has to be another band in there. I can't even think of it at the moment, you know. Well, lower
Mhm.
class brats. um and we all had these buttons on, and I remember one time, it was just really dumb. So I remember one time we went down, someone had a lake house, and there's big lakes around Austin.
Yeah.
And so someone had their parents had a lake house, or their grandparents had a lake house, something like that. We took it over for the weekend and we just went down there and partied. And I don't want to name any names, but there's people that are drinking uh what do you call it, cough syrup, right?
Oh,
They're
yeah.
just
Okay.
pounding cough syrup, fucking
Robo
fucked
tripping.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The rest of us are like, you know, we're smoking weed or drinking, you know, whiskey or whatever, and these guys are
Yeah.
pounding down cough syrup, some of these guys. And I remember one of them running and jumping, trying, saying he was going to jump into these rocks that went down into the water because they were made out of cardboard. And he's like, no, the rocks are made out of cardboard, man. We could just jump into them. We're tackling the guy. And it was just dumb. Anyway, that's probably one
Jeez.
of the biggest memories I have of all those people hanging out together. But the whole thing with the Orphans was, you know, it all leaned on, you know, a lot of the lines come from the movie. A lot of them
Yeah.
kind of come from, they parallel in, you know, um, in our lives, you know, 10 of them with weapons, man, we're going to get beat because orphans don't run from no one, right? It's like going to the
Mhm.
frat houses and frat boys are coming after us. We're alone, you know. It's like it's the whole thing with John being there alone and he's going to get beat up. Um, uh, but it all stemmed really from, you know, us sitting around and watching the Warriors, and I keep saying the Wanderers for some reason, watching the Warriors, and John kind of taking it upon himself to say he's in a gang, which we thought was the stupidest thing you could possibly do. You should just don't tell him you're in a fucking gang, man. What is your problem?
Well,
Uh,
he was drunk, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, he was very drunk, as you know, we were all drunk back then. So I mean, that's kind of really it in a nutshell of like where the whole inspiration came from, you know. And there's lines from the movie, you know, man, we've got a rep, and you know, John had said that to him, was quoting the movie, and yeah, that's about it, really. There's really not a whole lot to it. In my memory, it's fun because it
Yeah.
brings back a lot of good memories of friends, and things like that. And when we do play the song or when I listen to it, all those memories come flooding back, and it's pretty funny, to me at least, but we got a good song out of it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the best too when you listen to live and out of tune. When I first put that in, I didn't look at the track listings. I just was going through and I was waiting for that song. And then at the end, you actually say, it's not even on our set list, but we're gonna play it because you guys keep screaming it, which I was very stoked for listening to it in my car.
It's ain't even on our set list, but we're gonna do it because you guys keep screaming it. This is our last song. It's called Orphans Don't Run.
And so that was true. It became like a fan favorite, right? Like
Yeah.
when did you realize, I guess, that became like one of your kind of staples of a song? Was it like right after you wrote it or?
No, I mean, there was so there's a guy named in Austin named Dave Glessner, and he does a podcast with a guy named Jason McMasters, who was the singer for the band called Dangerous Toys, metal band Dangerous Toys, and he used to Dave Glessner, Metal Dave. He was the metal guy that used to come to all the shows, right? And he was the first guy to have a lower class Brats tattoo on his chest, and it's just like, wow, you got our logo tattooed on you.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you, but he would always scream out "Orphans Don't Run," and that was his favorite song. And so whenever he would come to the shows, we would play the song. He when going and starting to go tour and things like that, I don't know why the song got so popular. It wasn't anything that we recognized like, oh shit, this is going to be a hit.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. We don't think that much about things. But I really don't know how it became so popular, because the song to me is it's funny.
See, yeah, that's so funny. Yeah.
And a lot of people, like you were saying, it's like, oh, it's like an anthem. We can stand up, we can do what we need to do, and we're not going to back down. And that is the gist of the song, but it's also written about like, man, we can't fight. We're going to stand here. We're going to get the shit beat out of us. We're not going anywhere. We will stand our ground, but we're probably going to get the shit kicked out of us in the process. Yeah. And that's what the song's really about, and it's not a tough guy song at all. It's if anything, it's the opposite, and it's more about being thick-headed than being thick in the muscles. Right.
That's so funny, man. Like this is why I like doing these, finding out how what was meant to you and how it came from you. Because like I said, when I was in high school and stuff, it was actually one of the songs that helped me get through being bullied and stuff. Where I was like, you know what, I don't got anyone on my back, but it doesn't fucking matter. I gotta just face this because in the long haul it'll stop. And so it was kind of this song that I would like be motivated to like kind of stand up for myself, and to find out. The Warriors, the great, and I wish I would have watched that movie afterward or something to figure that out, dude. That's funny.
You'll go back and watch the Warriors. You'll figure out who the Wanderers or who the Orphans are real quick. Why do I keep saying the Wanderers for some reason? I must have just watched that movie recently. I don't know why I keep saying Wanderers. Wanderers is another great movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Yes, that's kind of it in a nutshell. That's really about it. There's really not much to it. It's funny to me. It was funny to the band when we put it together. I'm like, I'm going to write this song about what John did at the frat house.
Kind of a funny song.
And about the movie. So yeah. But a lot of the lines in there, they kind of parallel a lot of what we were doing in Austin, at the time.
Yeah, let me do that real fast too. One thing I would like to do, the awkward part, I want to read the lyrics kind of back to you, and tell me, I guess, then which one's kind of parallel. So, starts off with, they laugh at us when we walk down the streets. 10 of them with weapons. Man, we're gonna get beat because.
Right.
Into the chorus. So I guess that first part is from they have weapons and stuff in the movie. So none of that's real. That's.
Well, there's there was the thing, it has to do with the frat boys, and that was, they would laugh at us. There's the punk rockers and the skinheads that look fucking, whatever, and there's frat guys everywhere and sorority girls, and it was, we were definitely a minority in Austin at that time. And they would laugh at us. It being, self-admittedly, it's like, fuck, we're getting laughed at, and we would, it's like, here they come, or we're gonna fight, and it's like we're gonna get the shit kicked out of us, it's
Yeah.
like big frat dudes,
Yeah.
so that's,
And like you said, kind of asking for it. And so for the imagery too, so would you guys like be in like kind of the Clockwork Orange or punk rock get up going to these frat parties, like totally sticking out, or would you even try to blend in? How would that
no,
typically?
no, no, we wouldn't blend in it whatsoever. We stood out like sore thumbs. No,
Okay.
we were there in, leather jackets, bondage pants, boots, braces. It was like it's kind of like playing a game of chicken
Yeah.
and seeing how far you could get and how much alcohol you could take from these guys before getting in a fight or before getting kicked out or whatever it may be. Right? It was kind of a game of chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. And poor John got cut. All right. So then the chorus, of course, orphans don't run from no one. That's what we say. Orphans don't run from no one. We ain't going away. Pretty.
Um,
No.
it kind of rhymed.
Okay. Okay.
It kind of just rhymed and sounded cool. Um,
Mhm.
uh, that's what we say is, you know, uh, whatever. It's just kind of a call to arms. We ain't going away is, it's still a call to arms, and
Mhm.
we are who we are. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, not backing
We'll,
down.
we'll definitely be back at the frat house later. Your
Yeah.
next party next Saturday.
And then the next stanza in here, and this is where I think it does get that kind of gang feel where it goes, when you come into our parts, you better watch your step. We just hang out and get drunk, but man, we've got a rep. Yeah.
So it's uh it's a whole that stuff is all stuff from the Warriors.
From the Warriors.
So those are in the Warriors, the leader of the Orphans holds up a little piece of paper, and it's a news clipping,
Mhm.
and he's going and he's showing it to the Warriors, and he's like, you better get out of here. He's like, we got a rep, and he holds up this little newspaper clipping, and he's pointing at it like they write about us in the paper.
Yeah.
And it's so dumb. It's like what gang would have to carry around a newspaper clipping of themselves to ward people off, right?
Hmm.
Um, so that's basically that. Those lines are straight from the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, those are all from the
And I
movie.
know sometimes when you're live, you like to play around with the lyrics a little bit, where you'll say, "I just hang out and get drunk," right? You do that. Do you still
Right.
do that live a little bit?
Sometimes,
Okay.
not so much since I've stopped drinking,
Okay.
but but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of songs that I kind of do that in.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll change the lyrics up live just a little bit,
Yeah.
tiny parts. Not to get off the subject, but like New Seditionaries, for instance. At the end of New Seditionaries, it's like when it says, yeah, I see that right over there.
Yeah.
When it says at the very end of the song, where it says, we're the New Seditionaries, and it just keeps repeating over and over.
Yeah.
One of the last lines I'll point out, I go, you're the New Seditionaries, and like, point at people, and point at the crowd. It's just a way of, keeping things not so boring on
Keep it
stage.
interesting. Yeah.
I wouldn't, the lyrics aren't changed enough to really notice,
Mhm.
but yeah, in Orphans, I would do that and like change it to I, you know, um, it was just for fun,
Yeah.
there's nothing really to it.
Man. All right, that's good. And then ending of it goes kind of back, no, and then it goes, get into a rumble and someone's gonna get hurt. It might end up being us, but we gotta protect our turf. Right. which
Yeah,
yeah,
it's again a lot of not lines from the Warriors, but a feeling of what
that
that
vibe.
scene was like, and it kind of goes with John and what he did at the at the frat house. So um, it's all a lot of paraphrasing and a lot of making linear things that had to do with what John had done in his stupidity of going to the frat house
Yeah.
and acting like he was in a gang, and uh, our first thought when he came back home, we're like, oh shit, did the frat boys follow you back to the house? Are we gonna have to fight? And of course they didn't, but yeah, it's just kind of linear, and you know, to the movie and making points that kind of went along with what had happened that night with John coming home and
Yeah.
scared out of his mind and so I scared him off and you could see he's shaking, you didn't, dude. You almost got the shit kicked out of you. What are you doing? You don't do that alone, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah.
What was John's reaction when he first heard it? Do you know? Like, did you get to play it for him, or like, what did?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, he
Okay.
he got the joke right away, and as did Sean McGowan and the rest of the guys in the band and the people that knew about this event that had happened, and
Mhm.
a lot of our friends and stuff like that, and they all got the joke, and
Yeah.
um, the song in what you were saying is as like becoming a more popular song. It started to change, so it became really, even in my mind, less of a joke the more it went on, right? As I see how people kind of took this as a call to arms,
Yeah.
or being able to stand up for themselves and in a shitty situation,
Mhm.
and which I'm glad, that something like that came out of it. And we've always, lower class brats have always prided ourselves on being a band that we uh stand up for the little guy,
Mhm.
and songs like Losers Club or Bite the Bullet, things like that was like, like where, I can't do this alone, or
Yeah.
things like that, you know a lot of stuff going on up here that we know we're not the tough guys. We're not going to go out and wreck everything, but
Yeah.
we can do it, and we stand up for ourselves, and it just, that little bit can go a long way in life. And so um Orphans became one of those songs, more
Yeah.
so than being just uh just a silly joke that we thought was funny when we wrote it, right? Um and I'm happy about that. And from what you had said, uh it makes me feel, it makes me feel really good to know that something like that, like your experience from this song,
Yeah.
came out of something like that, um and yeah, that really
Yeah.
makes me pretty happy.
That's kind of cool with artwork like that, right? You make something with completely different intent, if you will. Like you said, kind of a joke for your friends and stuff, and then next thing you know, it's motivating and inspiring to other people, right? Like, and their interpretation can be way off from what you meant it to be. So,
Sure. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
totally.
yeah,
100%.
yeah. And not only
100%. It's
first,
all interpretation.
yeah, not only someone did that too. You should know also. I also, before I quit one of my jobs, one of the songs that got me through getting ready to go in and quit was "Process of Weeding Out." Because life's too short to be treated like shit. Which I went in and just put in my 2 week notice. But again, it gives you that big vibe of like standing up for yourself. And you guys have such great great motivating music, and you guys keep it fun too. And sorry, I'm going off track here. One question I did want to ask
Fun.
too was, what was first for you? Like the love of Clockwork Orange or punk rock? Like when did that? And it's probably redundant. I'm sure you've been asked that a million times, but curious.
Yeah. Well, so I first saw Clockwork Orange on cable TV in about 81 maybe. And I remember I was at my friend Chris Beloy's house. He ended up passing away from leukemia in 83. But when we were younger and when we were in junior high, I think it was about 81, 82, we had watched it on cable TV, and his folks had some money and they had cable right back then.
Yeah.
And so I always thought it was weird and intriguing. And moving on into high school, by this point, around 81, 82, 83, I'm already getting into new music. I'm listening to the Jam and the Specials and Black Flag and Adam and the Ants, and experimenting with what would be under the umbrella of punk, right?
Yeah.
And then going into I remember in humanities class in ninth grade, the teacher had us read Clockwork Orange in class, and we had to write a little thing on it, and the book had the glossary in the back. This is before the book got banned in schools. They've banned since then. Since the 80s, they banned a lot of books. I mean, my high school had the Anarchist Cookbook in the library. It had everything. There was everything there. It had books on witchcraft. It had books on all this stuff that would never fly today in a school.
Yeah.
So she handed out copies of Clockwork Orange, and the reason behind it was she wanted to. She was trying to do something about language, and she asked us not to read the glossary in the back to find out what the words meant and to try and figure out what they were talking about and to write reports on chapters, right? And I got really into the book. I thought it was so cool, and I paralleled it a lot with what was going on in at the time. I was not in Austin, Texas. I grew up in Southern California. And speaking of gangs, Southern California in the 80s and still now had a lot of punk gangs. There's a lot of gang life out here. And, when you look at, there's, here in San Diego, there's SDSH and Phono. And, up in LA, you had Lads and Suicidals. It's like they were gangs. They were real gangs. Circle One. These were gangs, and so reading the book, it paralleled a lot for me about what I saw in the punk scene of gang life, and how much music inspired all of it. And so I got really into it. I thought that element in it was really cool, and that's about what I really got out of it. What I liked about it was the element of music and the gang life. I thought that was like very interesting and very cool that someone had written about that before, because it was kind of like what the punk scene's going through right now. You got these thugs out there that are committing these horrendous crimes, and then they go listen to Beethoven and Bach. It's like, and it's kind of like going to a show and you listen to Black Flag and you want to go get crazy, right?
Yeah.
So that's when it all fell into play for me. Around that time, I had actually, it was a little later than that. It was about 1987. I had painted the Droog skull on the back of my then girlfriend's leather jacket, and it was different. It was really different. There was
there's the skull. This skull right here, right? That's on Classic.
Yeah. So instead of it had the skull and it was kind of crooked, and then it had instead of the two fingers in the air, it had shit, hold on a second. I gotta get rid of this. Oh.
Lord.
Are you still there? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Uh, it had like an 8-ball spinning on a
Yeah.
finger, right? And it
Okay.
was like, and I painted this on the back of this leather jacket, and when the band started, I'm like, oh, I remember that thing I painted on the back of that jacket. I wonder if I can redraw it. So I
Mhm.
redrew the Droog skull with the 2 fingers, and the 2 fingers since has we've kind of cut that out. It's just the skull now. Um, but um, that's how really the logo influenced lower class brats into the Clockwork genre more than musically what we were doing.
Yeah.
So, our major influences back then, were, of course, there's bands like uh Cockspar, Major Accident, ton of Major Accident, um, the Addicts,
Okay.
so on and so forth, the Blitz. These bands that use clockwork imagery, the guys in the Blitz were dressed in white, bowler
Yeah.
hat, and then there's
Addicts as well. They got that vibe for
Addicts,
sure.
and
Yeah.
Cockspar did it, in the We Love You video, and
Mhm.
um, so when we had started in '95, these bands weren't playing, and so you didn't have the Addicts coming through all the time. You didn't have, Major Accident was, who knows what they're doing now. They haven't put an album in years.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Cockspar were barely just getting back together. I think they came out with Guilty as Charged a couple years later, and that was their brand new comeback album.
Mhm.
So they weren't playing, and when we were talking about it, it was let's bring that back. Let's bring back the Clockwork Orange and punk, and
Mhm.
and Oi and see if it sticks. You know, um, it wasn't by a facade. I love the fucking book and the movie. You know, um, uh, I love the imagery, and so it wasn't by something like, oh, let's see if this could be our niche, and we'll just fake it till we make it. That had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
It was genuine.
Genuine.
It was very genuine. Um, but the that didn't really appear till our second single when we did the split with the Reducers. We did the Ultra Violence 7-inch, and so that's when the band on the second 7-inch is when that kind of started coming into rotation.
Mhm.
I mean, the wearing a derby and stuff like that. I was kind of doing that back in the '80s. There was a lot of punks wore derbies,
Okay.
and there was shit you could find 3 or 4 at a show easy, and they're just at whatever show, and they got derby hats on. It was a Clockwork Orange influence in punk, and
Mhm.
so I had a derby, and I was wearing it. I'm actually wearing it on the cover of the first single on Who Writes Your Rules single. But
Yeah.
the full imagery and the full thing of being a quote unquote clockwork band didn't come
Yeah.
about until the following year, the following '96 when we put out the second single. Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. And so it just kind of just fell together like very organically and genuine, like like from what it sounds like too. That's
Yeah.
pretty, yeah. And because of your
100%. Yeah.
band, that's why I read that book, So yeah.
I appreciate that. Yes, it's a good read. It's a hard read, but it's good, and it's pretty fucked up, but it's a it's a really it's a really honest good read. Definitely, and especially with the 21st chapter in there. If you got to read that, when he gets out and tries to start his life over again, after he
Hmm.
gets out of prison and tries to find a wife and wants to have a kid and all that stuff. That's a real game changer. I think that was taken out of the American version of the book. So the 21st chapter uh, uh, was taken out because it wasn't in the movie. Um, they took it out of the American pressing of the book. You can find the book now with the 21st chapter in it, which kind of it changes the whole perspective of the book. You
Yeah,
know,
I don't know
it's
if
really cool.
I read that then. Because yeah,
Yeah,
I remember I read it and it was really good. Then I got excited. I found out there was a movie, and I got to watch the movie for it. And then it was like it was long. I need to revisit it again for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
The 21st chapter is really you know, if you know the book and the movie, you could, you know, you can look up the 21st chapter online and
Mhm.
read it. If you know the book and the movie, it's, you know, especially the book, because the movie's completely different from the book. You know, in the book they dress in black. You know, they don't wear white. You know, so they can hide at night, and you know they have weird monk haircuts. You know, they shave the top of their heads. Uh, it was really kind of a lot different from the book or from the movie. But if you know the book and even the movie towards the end of the movie, which it's kind of somewhat the same. Um, the 21st chapter shouldn't be hard to pick up where it leaves off.
Okay.
You'll know what's happening, you know, because you know what happens at the end of the book and the end of the movie, right?
Yeah.
So the 21st chapter just kind of picks up from there. You know, he's growing up and wants to start a family and um, wants to have a son, you know, and he's like, but first I have to find a woman to have that son, you know, and it's fun. It's a good read, you know, but it doesn't it doesn't leave as it kind of teeters out with that. It doesn't leave as much of an impact as just cutting it like
Cutting
Stanley
it.
Kubrick did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick just cut it, went, no, we're not going to use that part. We're leaving it here. It's just going to be fucked up. Um, so this kind of shows you where he went later, you know, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So a lot of movies now. You know, the Warriors I got to watch again now too, and just well, I mean, I remember that now as you started saying it. Like, damn, like, duh, I should have figured that out. But that's it's so cool, man. Thanks for doing this. This is one of the you know, like I said, one of my favorite songs of you guys is "Orphans Don't Run." Super motivational to me. Finding out now it was written as a kind of a gag at first, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it was. I don't mean to bring you down on that. You know, it's like
no.
I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't soften the blow of the song. You know,
No,
because
it's what I think makes it even more to me it makes it even more cool. It just shows that for whatever reason you were inspired to write that song for whatever reason and what artwork can mean to everyone else, you know, which is I can only imagine being like a musician creating stuff and I guess has it ever gone the opposite way where someone interpreted your music not how you wanted it to be kind of meant for? Have you ever come across anything like that?
um, I guess so. Not people that have come up and said stuff directly. I'm sure it's happened.
Hmm.
Um, uh, but you know, it's like I see music as art, and it should be left open to interpretation. Um, there are some songs that you know that lyrics, excuse me, that I've written that are very on the nose, you might say, like
Hmm.
Who Writes Your Rules, right?
Hmm.
Or Ultra Violence. You know what these songs are about, right? I'm
Yeah.
telling you what they're about, right? And it's very, this is it. This is what I'm trying to say. And then there's songs that are more left open to interpretations, like Orphans Don't Run.
Hmm.
You know, we didn't, you know, we didn't come out. We wrote a song and it was tough and hard, but in the back of our heads, we knew it was kind of a funny to us. Uh, and we left it open to interpretation, which
Hmm.
you yourself have interpreted it in a different way than what it was originally meant, how it was meant, how we saw it. But when we put it out as a more tough song, you know, but
Yeah.
about standing your ground and being who you are, you know, and not backing down. Um, but you know, I think that, you know, it's all from perspective. So um, if you know, if someone gets something out, as long as they get something uh positive out of it,
Mhm.
you know, we've done our job. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if they interpret my lyrics in a way that I didn't mean them to be interpreted, but it still is a positive outcome for them, as
Yeah.
in yourself. Perfect. that's a win, right?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, thank you too. See, like I said, so many of your songs were motivational and fun. That's one thing I liked about your band too. You have that real like oi, just fun, funness around to it. Where I could get drunk, sing along. It was a real good sing along music too. I liked with your band. And you guys
Thanks,
keep
man.
going too, which is also what I love to see. What keeps you guys going too? You know.
Uh, um, bullheadedness and stubbornness. I guess it's
Mhm.
it's after doing this for it's coming up on 31 years.
Yeah.
Uh, you don't really know much else. This is just who I am and what I do. The same for Marty. And I can say the same for Ron and for Fred and for George.
Mhm.
This is just what we do.
Yeah.
We are punks, and we do punk things. So,
Yeah.
whether it be playing in a band, writing a fanzine, booking shows, any of that, uh, last night I play in another band. I sing for another band, for a hardcore band. And I just booked a show last night for the band Vaccine from New York, and we played, and there was a couple other bands from LA came down and played, and I put the show together. And it's, at 55, shit, I'm going to be 56 tomorrow. And so at 56 years old, it's I'm still doing this stuff that I've
Mhm.
been doing since I was a teenager. And
Yeah.
you know, gluttony, I guess. I don't know any better. It's just I'm not that bright. I don't know what it is,
No.
but you know, um it's just what we do, right?
Yeah.
As punks. It's just what we do.
Yeah.
And it's just not going to stop. And I can look and see um some of the bands that I grew up on and have gotten to know
Mhm.
through these years and have become peers with,
Yeah.
but they're still doing it, and getting to meet and hang out and just go for shopping with in a mall. Weird things that you do with these bands, and it's like, man, I grew up listening, going to see you guys. I got all your records, and I'm and now I'm looking at Spencer's Gifts. I'm sitting in Spencer's Gifts with you, or whatever it may be, right? And it's like it's cool to know that they didn't stop,
Yeah.
and they're still influencing people, and they're still doing what they do. Whether they're going to influence people or not is beside the point. They're going to do what they do. They're not there's no agenda here. you
Yeah.
know um uh Punk rock shouldn't have an agenda like that.
Yeah.
We're not here to make sure that uh our agenda isn't, we're going to rock your socks off tonight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like there is no agenda. It's doing what you do to make a positive influence
Yeah.
on myself first. I have to be happy,
Yeah.
and then others later,
Yeah.
right? And hopefully people like it. And if they don't like it, I don't give a shit. I'm going to keep doing it because
Yeah. Yeah. And I
it's
think
just in my blood.
I hear that in the live and out too, which that's probably my favorite is of course the live album because also when I go and see you guys live, that you're actually happy. You can tell that you're enjoying the show or you're putting on a great show. Acting, but I don't think so. And that's what comes across is there's this authenticity and genuine, like you actually enjoy what you're doing, what you're saying, the whole thing, and yeah, man,
Yeah.
like it kicks ass. That's all I gotta say, I guess. Yeah.
It was one of my favorite things from going to shows in the 80s. And I remember there's a band called Blast. They're from Santa Cruz. And this singer from Blast was, I saw them open for, oh God, was it Exploited? I think it was.
Mhm.
And I'd only seen them that one time in the 80s. And the singer, uh, his name slips my mind right now. Great skate rock band, it's a
Yeah.
hardcore band.
He
Really,
with
really
the
good.
TZ, right? Blatz with a
No,
Z.
no, no, no. Blast.
Blatz.
Blast.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it's B with a little there's a BL with a little uh thing, and then AST, I think,
Okay.
like the front of a ship,
Okay.
ballast. And so it's B apostrophe LAST.
Cool.
But they're called Blast.
Got
And you can find them online. Great band. Um, but I remember going to see them, and the singer, man, he would stare people down, and he just looked mean as fuck. And it was like intimidating. It was seriously intimidating. I remember standing up front watching him, like, yeah. And then he fucking looks at me, and he
it.
doesn't stop, and he's just staring at me. I'm like, oh, and I just kind of sunk away. I'm like, oh shit. And it was really intimidating. And then the second later, he's smiling, and he's smiling at the crowd, and he's having a good time. And this is just what he does.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. This is amazing, you know? And so it's knowing that the band is putting on their show, they're having a good time doing it, is really a lot of what influences me. And like, there's a lot of my stage uh, presence, what I do on stage has a lot to do with um, 80s hardcore. So it's not taken from, the oi bands or anything like that. It's taken a lot from uh, bands like, let's just say Misfits, Earth AD, 7 Seconds, Circle Jerks, Black
Hmm.
Flag. Those are the bands that I kind of grew up on. So,
Yeah.
and, there was a lot of, the woes in the songs, right? That's all 7 seconds. That's all that has to do with, that has to do with straight edge
Yeah.
hardcore, so that I brought that in, as an element. But it was like watching these bands, they were having a really good time on stage,
Yeah.
and you could tell. And it's like, if you're even if you're having a bad day uh, on tour, and you get up on stage, you're like, fuck, I don't want to play tonight, man. Oh God, I don't want to do this. I just want to be home. There's times that happens. And,
Hmm.
but it all goes away once that click, 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 and you go. And it's just like, it just changes. It's like, oh, I know why I'm here. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
At least for this 45 minutes or whatever it may be, I'm having the time of my life. And I might feel different when I get off stage, but right now, this is amazing,
Yeah.
and I'm so flattered that the people are there. They're singing along. They're here to party. Let's give them a fucking party, you know?
Mm.
And you know, I could say that it really, it means more to me than it probably does to the people watching us play,
Whew.
you know,
That'd be that's
100%.
that's what's cool. And you can see it too, man. You have so much energy and stuff. But I hope you come through Phoenix or Tucson again soon, because I'll be there. But yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah. Hey, I don't want to take more of your time. Thank you so much for this. I'd love to do it again in the future on another song. But I really appreciate your time, Bones, and you just put on such great fucking music, great band growing up to really shaped me. So yeah,
Awesome. Thank you, man. I appreciate it, KJ.
yeah.
Um, thank you.
All right, all right. I'll let you go. Peace.